Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is July 13th, 2010. I'm going to be covering the recession or the jobless recovery or the double dip recession, whichever you prefer. I'm going to cut to this video here.
Is the U.S. economy heading for a double dip, or did we never come out of the first dip? These are the questions being discussed on Wall Street and Main Street today. I'm joined now by Vinny Catalano of Blue Marble Research. And Vinny, first of all, do you think we're headed for a double dip recession, or are we still in the same recession that started in late 2007?
I don't think we're in a recession by every measure. I mean, it is a growth, a jobless recovery that's taking place. We are by every traditional metric in an expansion mode. So we're told anyway.
Right.
Corporate profits are really quite good. So the employment part of the equation and the worker part and the consumer part, that's troubling here in the United States. We are in a multi-speed world. So you've got strong growth taking place in emerging markets, developed economies like in Europe, Japan, the United States, slow growth, but that doesn't mean recession. I think by the time this third quarter we're well into the third quarter, we'll have a pretty good idea whether or not we are going to start to dip in that particular direction. So first part, no, we're not in a recession. We are in an expansion mode, jobless recovery granted, but we are in an expansion mode. There is a risk, definitely a risk, that we could not just decelerate, but actually go into the other direction. And then double dip. It sounds nice. It sounds like,
It's like the ice cream cone, right?
Yeah, exactly. A double dip, or we're going to put our toe in the water,
Right.
that sort of thing. This is really going to be like putting your toe in lava. It's more like it, because if we move in that direction, then unemployment rate is very likely to climb above 10%, going to 11%, and the social political consequences of that here in the United States are just not good. Global economic impacts could be really quite profound if the world's number one economy, decelerates into recession. Maybe it drags another part of the world, a big part like Europe,
Right.
into that equation. Perhaps the export part of the equation in the emerging markets. The whole chain reaction that takes place here. One of the things that I've noticed now, that's been a pattern over the last number of years, is that little things seem to escalate into big things in a very short period of time. And traditional economists have a notoriously bad track record.
That's true.
Right.
So you're saying it's much more significant than, is GDP going to slip into negative
Right.
territory again?
Right.
Are we talking about, because everyone will say this, tax rates are set to come higher,
Yeah.
beginning of next year, the death tax or the estate tax, depending on how you want to look at it, jumps from 0 this year to 55%
Sure.
next year. People are talking about that it's 1937 all over again.
Could be.
Is that's what you're saying?
That could be. Yeah, and that gets you to an S&P 400 potentially. You don't want to go there. It's very difficult to get an economy to turn around, particularly if you are in a zero inflation environment with zero interest rates, and then you dip to the downside. The probabilities are you're looking at deflation. And there's no good history that says we can get out of this relatively easily. So you don't want to go there. We don't want to go there, period. That's why the austerity programs, boy, this is a high-risk situation.
You do. So you're on the side that says we should do at least keep the stimulus programs that are out there, if not add to them?
That's correct. Yeah, I'm more in the Krugman camp in that regard. I think that, you need to keep it going. It's the lesser of two evils. Nobody wants the deficits running forever. You want to have a strong fiscal balance sheet for governments. You want it for the states, also here in the United States. But the alternative is just not acceptable, and that's the risk and the gamble. It really is a gamble.
Right. So is the alternative, does it look more like the 1930s here, and I don't want to be overly dramatic, with bread lines and Hoovervilles, or is it more like Japan, just a decade or two of lost economic?
More like the Japanese environment, because of the fact that you now have a support mechanism, unlike in early to mid 30s. Now you have a reasonably good support mechanism. So you're not going to get 25% unemployment, but you'll get 11, 12% unemployment. And given the political climate that we're in right now, that could be very toxic over the next year or two. I could see protests in the streets, things
Right.
of that sort. I'm a child of the 60s. I remember that kind of stuff. You can see things get unhinged, and there's a snowball effect, and things, develop rather quickly. So I would be on the watch for that. We don't double dip. We don't want
to go there. All right. So you were saying earlier you think we're going to know with some certainty by the end of this quarter.
That's correct.
What are the...
There you go, folks. You just heard it from Vinny Catalano, founder and president of Blue Market Research. And I kind of liked the little news segment. I don't exactly agree with everything he says, but he's obviously more experienced than I am in economics and monetary policy. But just here, just little old me here, it's kind of my view that this jobless recovery, as they call it, and corporate profits being strong is going to be the future of the United States. And are we going to be the world economic power still? I don't know. I don't really care. I'm not really into nationalism anymore. I just want our Federal Reserve notes to be backed by something. And I don't worry about the deficit because I'm not responsible for that. That's for people who do not represent me spending money that we don't have. So I'm not really concerned about that. What I am concerned about are the riots that this man is talking about, because as he says, the unemployment is around 12%, 11%. I see it as around almost 18 to 20%. And the real unemployment numbers, how they compute it now, vice the 80s. So I'm looking at it from a kind of a different perspective, as far as a very slow recovery and not a double dip recession, as a recession that never really ended. But he's saying that we're not in a recession, that we're in an expansion mode, and he kept saying that over and over again. That we're expanding, and so we're not in a recession. In other words, there's growth, and a recession is just lack of growth. So we could not be. Maybe we're probably not in a recession, and there's been a lot of money pumped into the economy via the government, and the jobs aren't coming back as they would like. But corporate profits are up, and so, like I said, this is a restructuring of the economy. And the way I see the future of the United States is a transferring of wealth happening, to a transfer of wealth going to the less developed countries, or the, quote, developing countries. In other words, exploiting cheap labor. So the jobs will come back. I will say this. I just want to throw this out there. The jobs will come back to the United States. But when they come back, they're not going to be as good as jobs that were once here. Many are going to be unskilled labor jobs. Many are going to be government jobs. Many are going to be retail jobs and online jobs, work at home jobs. Jobs that aren't going to they're not going to be good for planning a retirement with, basically. So our standards of living are going to drop for the average middle class person. And so that's how I see the future of the United States, is the middle class being pretty much extinct in the next 30 to 40 years, if not sooner. So, and just kind of having an upper crust, kind of like the middle upper class being upper class, and no middle class, just lower class, and then a middle upper class, and super elite. So, let's check out another article. But we are in a global economy now, right? And that's exactly what these globalized bankers who don't care about nationalism, when they kind of steer our economic system and have their little Council on Foreign Relations and their trilateral commissions and their Club of Rome's and their World Banks and IMFs, we had a lot of our jobs shipped out, and we paid for it here in the United States. We paid for our jobs to be shipped to overseas and companies to move and outsource jobs. So we're kind of in this position where these global fascists are going to be reaping the benefits, while we just kind of stand by and just cross our fingers and choose the lesser of two evils. But the way I see it is, this is how everything is. We have to choose the lesser of two evils. And I think everybody's just getting tired of it, because a lot of these things are being manipulated, such as the economy and different crises, and a lot of times the people that are offering the solution are causing the problems or influencing situations so that a problem will arise, and then they offer their solution. And their solution is to keep pumping money. That's the support system, to keep pumping money into a black hole. That black hole, though, goes exactly to the people that I just referred to. So join me in next part of this video series on this, quote, double dip recession. Thank you.